Eating out in a familiar chain restaurant is part of the American culture. Unfortunately, many people will see their favorite place to grab a meal disappear. And we're not talking about small dining chains, but the ones that fed generations. Besides, restaurants are enormous contributors to the local economy as they provide jobs not only to restaurant staff, but to farmers as well, provide fresh produce every day. Last year, there were about 631,000 restaurants in the United States, according to data from Technomic. That's roughly 72,000 less than in 2019, and there were over 700,000 restaurants in the country. So in this video, we'll talk about 15 big chain restaurants that might soon disappear. But before moving to the first restaurant chain on our list, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. That way you'll contribute to the production of future videos. Thank you for being so supportive. And now, let's get back to the topic. Number 1, Burger King. Burger King has announced its intention to shut down 300 to 400 restaurants this year, which is twice the normal rate. The fast food chain is ramping up efforts to enhance its restaurant operations and plans to impose stricter regulations on expansion to favor only the best operators with fewer locations. Meanwhile, the company aims to encourage franchisees who do not meet brand standards to sell their stores to other operators. Executives from the Miami-based burger chain revealed these changes, which acknowledging that the brand expects a higher rate of closures this year. Due to poor sales in recent years, coupled with rising costs for food and labor, chain's franchisees have filed for bankruptcy, and several dozen closures have occurred in May. Number 2, Applebees. Applebees had ambitious plans for its growth in the year 2023, hoping to open more restaurants than it closed for the first time in years. However, the chain's plans have hit a snag due to the high cost of constructing new restaurants and pressure on franchisees' operating margins. As a result, the parent company, Dine Brands, is now predicting that there will be a more significant decrease in the number of domestic Applebee's restaurants at the end of the year, ranging from 10 to 20 fewer than the previous year. Number 3, Red Lobster. Several Red Lobster locations have permanently closed in recent months while the chain's parent company works to revive the struggling seafood franchise. With 670 units nationwide, the chain has been hit hard by high food and labor expenses. In the third quarter, it incurred a loss of $15.3 million, which was higher than owner Thai Union Group's projected loss of $10.4 million. As stated during a November earnings call, the Thailand-based seafood distributor is dedicated to restoring the brand it acquired in 2020. CFO Ludwig Regis Henry Garnier and interim Red Lobster CEO Paul Kenny have been visiting various locations to address the challenges the chain faces. Number 4, Lone Star Steakhouse. Once a competitor of Outback Steakhouse, Texas Roadhouse, Black Angus, and others, Lone Star Steakhouse couldn't sustain its position in the market. As per Restaurant Business Online, the chain, which once had around 265 locations, started closing down many of its units in 2016, a few years after its acquisition of Daystar Restaurant Group, as the locations were not generating enough profits. By the 2020s, almost all the locations had shut down, and at present, only one Lone Star Steakhouse exists, and that too in Guam. Number 5, Bonanza Steakhouse and Ponderosa Steakhouse. The steakhouse chain Bonanza and Ponderosa are in fact a single entity under distinct names, formed under a merger in 1997. This may all be trivia soon, as the restaurant chain has significantly declined in recent years. From over 600 locations, only a few dozen remain. Parent company went through bankruptcy in 2008 and rebranded in 2009, but profits yet to recover. Number 6, Dogs and Suds. If you've ever driven through much of the American Midwest during the 1950s, 60s, or 70s, it would have been tough to miss the popular drive-in chain Dogs and Suds, known for its delicious hot dogs and refreshing root beer. At its peak, the chain had over 650 locations across the region, according to the Chicago Tribune. However, today, the company's website shows only 15 locations with one of them being a food truck and 2 of them currently closed for business. Number 7, Friendly's. Burgers and frozen treats, a delectable duo, right? Unfortunately, not always. Currently, there are 125 Friendly's establishments in operation throughout the United States, which may seem decent. However, according to Business Insider, during its heyday, Friendly's managed to run over 800 restaurants. The eatery chain declared bankruptcy in 2020 as reported by Restaurant Business, and its complete recovery seems unlikely. Number 8, Jerry's. During its prime, there were numerous Jerry's restaurants scattered around the United States, with the majority of them concentrated in the southern region and a semi-autonomous chain operating out west, as reported by the Sacramento Bee. This was mainly during the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s. However, the chain started to lose momentum in the later part of the 20th century and was soon outcompeted by other restaurant chains still thriving today. By the 1990s, many locations had been sold and converted into other restaurants such as Denny's. Nowadays, there are only one Jerry's restaurant remaining, and it's located in Paris, Kentucky. Number 9, Arthur Treacher's. With a history of nearly 800 stores across the United States, Arthur Treacher's was once a well-known seafood fast food chain. However, today it has only one location left, located in Cuyahoga, California. Though the fish and chips offered by the chain were delectable, they weren't enough to make the customers pay higher prices. Fortunately, when the cost of cod increased significantly in the mid-1970s due to the Third Cod War between Iceland and Great Britain, Arthur Treacher's suffered a significant setback from which it never fully recovered. It's a bittersweet fact that 2022 marked the 50th anniversary of Arthur Treacher's, considering the chain's collapse down to one unit. Number 10, Roy Rogers. Once upon a time, this fast food franchise named after a crooning cowboy was ubiquitous in certain areas, rivaling even McDonald's in popularity. In fact, in the latter half of the 20th century, there were more than 600 units in operation. However, if you peruse the chain's location tracker today, you'll only find 40. What led to this drastic reduction? A strategic business move. Although Marriott Corp had owned Roy Rogers since the end of the 1960s, by 1990 the company's focus had shifted to hotels, prompting them to divest the brand to Imasco. The new owner converted most of the locations into Hardee's and sold off others to competitors. 11. Charlie Brown's Steakhouse. Seems like luck was never in Charlie Brown's side. Similarly, the steakhouse named after him, Charlie Brown's Steakhouse, couldn't catch a break either. It was established in 1966 and later rebranded as Charlie Brown's Fresh Grill. Now only 2 locations remain in New Jersey. There used to be around 50 restaurants in the chain, but due to long-standing struggles, almost a dozen locations were shuttered during the pandemic. 12. Subway. Subway was shuttered around 6,000 restaurants in the last 8 years, a record-breaking number of closures for any restaurant chain. While the pace has slackened somewhat in the past year, the company continues to shrink its U.S. unit count. In recent years, Subway has been grappling with various challenges such as declining sales, growing pains, and legal woes due to Jared Fogle, its former spokesperson. The sandwich giant has been shutting down numerous locations across the U.S. for the past few years, facing accusations that its tuna may not be genuine. 13. Papa Murphy's. The chain that specializes in take and bake pizzas has a similar structure to Subway, with numerous small-scale operators, has faced challenges since the pandemic due to a shift in consumer preference towards non-pizza food. Existing locations saw a low single-digit decline in sales, according to MTY executives. Franchisees had to shut down around 72 stores. 14. Long John Silver's. The former Yum Brands chain has closed 1/3 of its locations in the past 5 years, due in part to the end of multi-brand restaurants. The traditional blue roof buildings have been replaced by generic split locations, sometimes with brands like A&W Root Beer. As a result, the dining experience has suffered, and it's harder for customers to forget they're parked at a highway rest stop instead of a seafood fish shack. 15. Boston Market, a rapidly growing restaurant franchise recognized for its spit-roasted poultry, has scaled back its branches from 1,200 to 300. The government of New Jersey has accused the eatery of delinquent or late disbursement of salaries, disregard for minimum wage, and earned sick leave, as well as obstruction of inquiry. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and let us know what you think about this subject in the comment section below.